Where are you? You're at home at the moment? Nice. Cool. Right.
Episode loading. Play. You are listening to Freshly Squeezed.
You can't mosh pit while recording. Well, you can, but might not look so great.
Or you might lose your phone
Yeah.
for sure, and you don't want to lose your phone in the middle of a mosh pit.
Level.
Hello, welcome to Freshly Squeezed. I'm Jim Salveson, and this is the place to find your next favourite band. If you've come looking for new music, sit back, chill out, I've got your back. 4 brilliant new bands lined up and ready to go on this week's episode, including a debut song from the brilliant Frankie Dobson.
You walk around like you're irresistible, 'cause your lips, they taste like candy.
A band that you might have previously known as Little Thief, but are now under a new identity and a new sound. They're Oswald Slain.
That's alright, that's alright. Sometimes you lose, it's just life. Dust off your knuckles, swallow your pride. It's alright.
And Something Spiky from the fantastic PHWOAR.
These puppets got strings, they love to play with those things. But my scissors cut strings.
You'll hear more of those new tunes in a bit, and you'll hear from the bands themselves too. If this is your first time to Freshly Squeezed, welcome to the party, welcome to the community. Make sure you're following this podcast because every week there is a fresh batch of new bands and new music for you to get your ears around. Click follow or subscribe or whatever it happens to be in your podcast app of choice. And here's the important bit. Make sure you talk about this episode. Tell your friends, tell your music-loving mates, tell your followers on social media, spread the word, build the family. So first up on this episode, we're going to hear from a band from up in Liverpool, Gondolas. We'll hear shortly from Ben, Gondolas frontman, but first, a taste of their latest tune, All for the Best.
Trying to find the words, can't remember what you left on miles around first. Only I'm a second guessing yourself on a neon breath. Sailing south, sails block coming up short. I think I saw me to begin of the time. Sail in the air, trying to rig your head. Nevertheless, well, it's all for the best. Ran the right race, crossed the wrong line, kept my own pace, took my damn time, but it's all for the best.
That is All for the Best, the brand new tune from Gondolas, and Ben from the band joins me on the pod. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great, Jim. Nice one for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I mean, people could tell from your accent instantly you're not from Liverpool, but I guess the band is kind of billed as being from Liverpool. And one of the things that struck me when I listened to you is I always assume that Liverpool bands are going to sound a certain way because maybe out of all the cities in the UK, I think Liverpool's probably got the strongest musical identity. And I say that as someone proudly living in Manchester as well. Like I say, I know strictly speaking, you're not a Liverpool band, but do you find that in any way the music from the city creeps into your tunes?
I mean, I would say so, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always loved like the music that's come out of Liverpool. Like, obviously, I was because it goes without saying, I'm a huge Beatles fan, and that was kind of like one of the reasons why I came over here initially. Came over here for uni and that kind of thing, to study music here, and stuck around afterwards. One of the kind of big reasons for that was, loving the Beatles, and I suppose being a big fan of that, I'm really into interesting chords and harmonies and things like that. And then just other bands you just see around who are just smashing it from this area, a band called the Kairos. They're really cool. Stone as well. They're smashing it. Crawlers as well. I'm not sure if they're all from Liverpool, but close to Liverpool anyway. It's inspiring to be fair, to be in the kind of melting pot of people really getting after it and seeing some success doing so.
Yeah, I think in reality, the music from Liverpool nowadays is much more diverse than I have in my head, which is I think of Liverpool music, I think of jingly jangly, I think of harmonies. But exactly. There's so much more going on than that. In terms of your new tune, All for the Best, now it's not as fresh as most of the stuff we play on the pod, but I guess it's close to its use by date, if you want to kind of use that vernacular.
It's getting there, like.
But it does mean you've had a good chance to road test this tune and kind of play it live and see how the audience reacts to it. How has it been received?
It's been our best received song yet, to be fair. We've been playing it for a good while, and we always knew we were like quite excited about that one and like felt quite strong about it, but we just kind of wanted to build a bit with our previous releases before we kind of started firing with all cylinders with the ones we were really kind of excited about, as I say. But the reception's been amazing. Like it's released it at the end of January, and it's about to hit 10,000 streams, which that's our quickest climb to that we've had yet.
One of the things I really like about this latest tune is the backing vocals that your former bassist Rosh kind of contributed. There's like a hint of Paramore in there.
She'll be very happy to hear that. She's a massive Paramore fan, like really big into Hayley Williams and all that, and her style. Yes, the harmonies sound fantastic on it. Like they really do.
Obviously, she's departed the band since this tune came out. Do you think that dramatically impacts your sound going forward? Are you going to kind of change things up?
Well, as I was saying before, harmonies, being just a big fan of the Beatles, harmonies is something that I've always been a massive fan of, and no matter how heavy or punky or whatever the music is, it's always a really important element for me to be incorporated. Like, so no, the harmonies will be continuing massively. I would say across the board. Like, even my brother Chris, he's on lead guitar. He's a wee bit more shy with doing singing here and there, but we're gonna get him going with some things as well. But yes, our new bass player as well, Max. He's a fantastic singer too. He's a harmony machine, like, so you can expect plenty more of it. Just maybe without the Hayley Williams tinge to it.
Speaking of lineup changes, now I once heard in an interview you discussing musical legends as a band that you'd like to work with. So I'm going to mix that question up a little bit. I'm going to let you bring any musical figure into Gondolas. It can be anyone you like from the history of music, any genre, whatever. But here's the twist. You've got to kick out an existing member in order to fit them in. Who's coming in? And more importantly, potentially for the future of the band, who's going? Who are you kicking out?
Oh, that's a spicy one. Like, I mean, if I'm really thinking about, trying to be altruistic about it and think of the success of the band, I'd probably kick myself out and bring in bring in Julian Casablancas or Phil, or Phil Lynott, from Thin Lizzy, my heroes, But other than that, I love the inventiveness of different guitarists, like, people who can really create their own sounds. Tom Morello, he's a bit of a mad guy, to be fair, but he's able to make some crazy sounds out of it. Like, so I always really respect that. But I suppose that'll be my brother Chris, leaving in that case. Sorry, Chris.
I think kicking yourself out is definitely the one to go for. It's like, it's the politician's answer. It's the safe route.
Yeah, isn't it, I'll be political with that one there. Yeah, I'll kick myself out and wish them all the best.
Nice one, Ben. Lovely to talk to you. Good luck with the brand new tune from Gondolas. All for the best. All for the best with All for the Best. And thank you so much for joining me on Freshly Squeezed.
Yes, cheers. Well, hopefully we can talk again with when we have the next release and all, like,
Nice one, definitely. Put it in the diary. Speak soon.
Yeah, nice one, Jim. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
I'm making a mental note to catch up with Gondolas in April 2026 to see exactly where they're at. Although, given the fact I can't remember my wife's birthday, the chances of me remembering that, very slim. Please remind me. Okay, so next on Freshly Squeezed, a debut tune from a fella who has previously worked with Carl Faulkner and Andrew Cushin. It's Frankie Dobson. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, here's a taste of his new one, Candy.
Same old stupid friends, chewing my head every chance you get.
said, oh, will it end, will it end? The caliber of a conversation, lacking overall motivation to engage in these little games. Oh, here it goes again. And now your friends make fun of me when I'm begging you to stay. You walk around like you're irresistible, 'cause your lips taste like candy. I got your taste on the tip of my tongue, always jealous of somebody.
Debut tune from Frankie Dobson. It's a good one, isn't it? It's called Candy. And you know how big budget radio shows like Radio 1 might have live from Maida Vale, or they might have a hookup transatlantic? Well, get this. I'm talking to Frankie from his bedroom in the northeast of England. How you doing, Frankie? You all right, mate?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. How's yourself?
Yeah, well, if you just moved miles away from the computer or something, you just went really echoey then.
Yeah, sorry, I was closing my window.
Just like wandered off. Let's do the interview. All right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, no, I live next to a garage, so I have to just like close up before they start like honking horns and stuff. Like,
Well, pleasure to meet you anyway, mate.
yeah, man, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us.
So, you join us at a really big moment in your career right now. A debut tune is out in the world. Most of us will never get to experience that feeling of writing a record, recording a record, releasing a record. Can you sum it up? What's it feel like to have Candy out there as your first solo tune?
To be honest, it's a bit mental. Like I've had that song like locked away for like 2 or 3 years, and it's like since I've had it on my phone for ages, like I've listened to it like a million times and like gigged it a million times. So like to finally have it out there, it's almost like what you're doing is not a secret anymore. For people who don't know who you are, like when you tell your mates or like tell people who you meet on like when you go out and you go, yeah, like I do music, and they're like, oh, have you got anything I can listen to? And you're like, no, not yet. They're kind of like, oh, all right then. But then when you go like, yeah, actually, I've got something on Spotify, like you should listen to it. It's a really weird feeling, but also like having something that finally like sort of represents you, and you can finally go, yeah, this is me, and this is what I sound like to people who have no idea. Pretty hard to put into words, but it's also like pretty wicked.
You say you've had the tune for a while, you've got versions of it on your phone. How similar are the kind of those old versions that are sitting in WhatsApp or your voice notes or whatever it is? How similar to that are they to the tune that we get to listen to today?
I would say, well, the first version I did, I recorded it in like sort of student accommodation when I was in like my second year of uni. You can hear that the song is there. I think definitely the vocals got a lot stronger. I think the one thing that I'm sort of happy that I waited so long with is sort of getting better at playing live and definitely singing live as well. Because I've played in bands before where like there was sort of like indie punk outfits or something like that, and there wasn't really, especially mainly when I was doing it, there wasn't a lot of like dynamic with it. My thing was like sort of getting better as a singer, to be honest. And I think the original version, the lyrics are there and the overall tune's there, but then I think it's one of them ones where you listen to it and go, yeah, it's got potential to be something all right, but that's as far as it went, I think.
So this tune kind of took shape co-writing alongside Carl Faulkner from The View. I know Carl does these songwriting camps where writers join him in his villa in the Spanish Hills or something like that, and all these writers learn from each other. Was this song a product of one of those sessions?
Yeah, it was. So Kyle actually, writing wise, had nothing to do with the writing, but he did give me like this really good pep talk when we were out there. He's like, Kyle's crazy. Like the best way I can sort of describe him is like, like cartoons when they give them like an energy drink and they just start bouncing off the walls. Like when I first met him, he like literally like bounced into the room, and I was like, and he was just like, "Oh my god, guys, it's class to meet you all, man. This is absolutely buzzing, man." What? And he was like literally like the Tasmanian devil, and it was like, I think I just turned 20 when I was going out there. I'm 22, and I was sort of the youngest one there. I was sort of like trying to find like a little quiet corner where I could get to myself without hearing somebody else and going like, "Oh, that's so much better than mine." And Kyle's like, You're not writing enough tunes, Frankie. Like you're sitting out here like you're just lapping up the sun and like just talking to people. You're not actually writing any of your own songs, man. We were sat literally, there's like a pool at La Sierra Casa, and we were sat by the pool talking, and like all the musical equipment out there, it's like Kyle's personal equipment. And like I think I wrote Candy on this like John Lennon acoustic, and it was Kyle's first guitar that he ever got from like his mum or his dad. And I was sat playing that for ages, but then I think everyone was sort of trying to have a go on it at least once over there. Kyle's Cream ES335 from The View that he wrote like every tune on was there. and I was like glued to it for the whole time. So I think I wrote the majority of Candy on that. And yeah, I was like sat by the guitar, like with this guitar sort of by the pole, and he was just like saying, "I was like, no, you need to do this, man. You're not doing enough." He actually said to me, "You're not doing enough,"
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, like he's as much like he's the funniest guy, but he's also the most like the best thing about Kyle for me is he's the most cutthroat tutor in the world. Like if he thinks something's bad, he will just tell you." Like I remember I sent him the first version of Candy, and I went up to see him when the View did them first dates up in Glasgow. I was like, "So what do you think?" Like I was so proud. I was like, "What do you think?" And he was like, "The music's great, but your singing's atrocious, man." He was, "It's absolutely terrible, man. Like I can't listen." He's like, "The music's great. As soon as you hear a voice, I just turn it off. It's crap."
Wow.
And
Brutal.
I was like, "Oh, it was horrible." I went back to like the hotel that night, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna do better." And I pulled a bit of a Rocky montage, and then got better at singing.
So speaking of those creative partnerships, you've worked with Andrew Cushion before, I think, as well, fellow artist up in the Northeast. Was that on his album?
Yeah, that was years ago. I was about 18 when I did that. So I think Andrew was just coming up, starting to put together a band and like his sort of live band. And I'd seen this, and I was in a band at the time when I was about 17, 18, and it was during lockdown. And I'd said to
Is
him,
that the Thieves you're in?
Yeah, the Thieves. Yeah. God, years ago. It was like I'm talking like 5 years ago now, and it was like. I said to him, like, "Do you want to come down to one of the gigs to maybe see?" Because I'd seen he'd been getting on with like, he'd been posting photos of him with like Serge from Kasabian and Sam Fender and all this. And I'm like, "I want to see if I can get my band in, like supporting him or something like that." And he came down and he watched us. And then like the next day I was still at college when I was in that band, which was quite crazy. He like rang me and was like, "Right, your band are all right, but I'm actually looking for a lead guitar player. Do you want to come and like audition?" And I was like, yeah, of course, okay. So I was just sort of like, if it gets me in somewhere, I'll do it. So I did. And I went up to Newcastle College to do it. And there was me and another lad who was auditioning. They put me in first. And when I was playing, the other guy left, which I felt quite bad for. But I think he just sort of went, "No, I'm not having any of that." And
Couldn't
left.
compete. Just like, nah, done. Can't match that.
I didn't want to toot my own horn, but I was really showing off that day because I did really want to try and get in there. Andrew he recorded a song called Memories, which during COVID, so me and him went down to London to a studio called The Fire Pit, which is in Warner Bros. Studios with Richard Woodcraft. He did like In Rainbows and did a lot of stuff for like Michael Kiwanuka and all that. And I played the lead guitar and the bass on Memories. And then Andrew obviously did everything else. We had Mike Rowe from Oasis and Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds came down as well, which absolutely mental. To say I did all that at like 18-year-old, it was a bit weird. And then not long after that, he started writing a song, which is Now You Don't Belong. And I wrote like the guitar riff for that. And there's like, we were playing, he's like, "I really want this song to be like quite sort of lively and quite thingy." He was like, "Frankie," he's like, he's like, "Just do your thing." He's like, "Just do your thing." So we started playing these chords and I started playing sort of the riff. And I think I nicked the riff from the bass line or something to This Love Starved Heart of Mine by Marvin Gaye, because I'd been listening to it on that day. And I just started playing that. And you think, "That's amazing." And then we sort of had the song by the end of the session. Like we wrote it in like the working men's club that he was rehearsing in at the time. And then I think not long after that, I left the band to sort of pursue other things with my other band. I think the last time I seen him was Hardwick Live a couple of years ago. And he's like, some of his session band is still the lads that I was playing with. So that when I'd seen them, they were like, "Oh, you all right, Frankie, mate?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Like, it was nice to catch up with them on. Like I say, when I've just spoken to Andrew, he's quite a canny lad. So yeah, it was to say I did all of that at like 18-year-old is a bit like, it's a bit crazy to me to think about it now, and then to sort of be doing it for myself at sort of a similar age to what it was when I met Andrew. It's like, yeah, it's nice to say that I've been lucky enough to be sort of worked for these opportunities and sort of get them so early on, like in my career, I guess.
Well, it's that old maxim, isn't it? The harder you work, the luckier you get. But you're off to an absolute belting start with Candy, debut release, really liking it. It's kind of got that noughties indie vibe. I can imagine it being in the soundtrack to the In-Betweeners or something like that, like The View and the Future Heads and the Wombats and those kind of sounds to it. And I'm really enjoying it. So, Frankie, good luck for the tune. Good luck for the future. Thanks for joining me on Freshly Squeezed, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thank you for having us. Cheers.
Cause you live, tastes like candy. You walk around
listening to Freshly Squeezed. I'm Jim. Loads of new music every single week, and the next new band you're going to hear from is Oswald Slain, which is a band born out of another band called Little Thief. They're from Bristol. If you're not familiar with Little Thief, go and check them out because they're... No, don't go now. Go and check them out later. Come back here. That's it, sit down. Go and check them out later, because right now we're going to hear from Oswald Slain. We're also going to hear a little bit of their new music. But before we hear the music, let's talk to Fitz. How you doing, Fitz?
Hello, very nice to be here.
Thanks for joining me. So congratulations on the new EP, Kiss Me on the Mouth. How does it feel to have it in the world finally? Because what's the timeline for something like this? Because I record these interviews for the podcast, and sometimes I have to sit on them for a couple of weeks. And all I want to do when I'm sitting on and waiting for them to go out is I want to get them into the world. I want people to hear them. Here you are creating proper art, stuff that you put your heart and soul into, and you make it, and then you just have to wait. Is it an absolute killer?
It's like purgatory, really. It can be like up to a year. I've made other records and it's been like 2 years sometimes before they get to come out. It's a real shame. I wish it was quicker, but you got to plan stuff, and if you just make it and stick it straight out, it's quite hard to get any people to listen to it. And we're really right at the very beginning of a load of songs that we're putting out over the year. So it's part of quite a big picture of releases, the EP. But yeah, it's been a long time, and I don't like it at all. I wish you could just make something and then put it out the next day, or at least within the month would be nice.
When you get to this stage, when the EP is kind of finally out there, does that impact how excited you are at this point for release? Because you have been, I know what musicians are like. You're focused on the next thing. You're looking at the new shiny creation. Does that quell the excitement of having the new stuff in the world, or is it just a relief to get it out there?
It is a relief. I always try and make sure I've got new things coming up, or at least I'm working on something new when things are coming out, just to avoid any like emotional attachment to them. You know what I mean? It's nice to kind of, when you're putting something out, it's quite nice to be working on something else, I think, as well, you know, because it takes a long time. So, you know, you make something and then it's you got to wait for a long time before you get to put it out most of the time. So by the time it comes out, you've got something else, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I need a little bit of a clarification here on Oswald Slain.
Yeah.
Little Thief, which was previous band. What's the story there? Is Little Thief no longer a thing, or is Oswald Slain a side project? Might you go back to Little Thief at some point? What's the story?
I think currently at the moment, it was really just a name change. So we just changed the name and wanted to carry on. And then the drummer, and my other half, we kind of do the Oswald Slain thing. It's kind of the same, but it's just slightly different music, because we just got a little bit bored of the kind of heavy rock stuff and started to really enjoy kind of more song-based things and just a slightly kind of different style of music, you know. And also the Little Thief name was just a constant reminder of Big Thief, who are, you know, obviously incredible and a legendary band. So we just kind of got to the point where we felt like we needed to change something up to move forward, you know.
Well, the reason I asked about whether it was a side project, because it does feel like a new musical direction, and I think I really liked the stuff you were doing as Little Thief. It reminded me of, at times, of Radiohead. It had these great big soundscapes going. This feels very different to that. This feels like a band who are just having a whole load of fun making music.
Yeah, no, we really enjoyed making the music, and it's not quite as dark. The record we made and the EP we made, we'd write the songs in the morning and then we'd just record them in the day and do like one a day. So the process was really nice and it was really fresh. It wasn't so kind of thought out, and we didn't make demos and then make the record, and we didn't go to kind of a nice studio to do it. We kind of just did it all at home, really, which was really fun and a little bit cheaper, which was great. But I missed Little Thief a bit. I think you get to a point with a band where you kind of lose perspective on what you're doing with it, and you don't really know how to go any further with it. And then you kind of give it a break for a while, and you know, maybe it'll come back. But I think it's probably just going to focus on Oswald Slain for a while.
You mentioned the new music was recorded at home and that you work with your partner in the band, obviously. How does that affect kind of home life relationships? Because that must make it very difficult to shut the door on that stuff. Does it just take over your entire world for the period that you're working on it?
For the period that we're working on it, it does. And then when we're trying to put it out, it does as well a bit. And I need to learn how to turn it off, probably, because I'm quite obsessive, I think. But I think Ree's more happy to just kind of play drums and be the lovely, great person that she is without the added kind of cloud of promotion and things like that. But yeah, no, it's fine.
Well, like I say, it sounds like a really fun EP, and I think fun is evident on the newest of those tunes, which we're going to play on Freshly Squeezed, which is Sean Paul. And this is a song about you facing up to your personal failures. Is this just an attempt at alternative therapy?
I guess pretty much, yeah. I mean, I kind of write songs. Some of the songs have slightly clearer water, some of them are a little bit dirty, and this is probably one that's still got a little bit of dirt in the water. But yeah, no, it's really just a fun little bop about it's like a nostalgic bop of looking back when things were simpler. You go through life, don't you? And you win a few and you lose a few. So you got to lose some to win a few.
Nice.
Can't win them all.
Well, I really like it. It sounds fun, like I said, but it's also got this really cool kind of surf rock retro vibe to it. It feels like the perfect tune as we step into summer. Fitz, thanks very much for joining me on Freshly Squeezed.
Oh, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
A real road runner 5 or 6 years ago, down at the boozer, Sean Paul playing on the radio. We were on to a winner, straight out in the stars, and we stole the show. Better run like the clappers. Babe, I got the money and I'm bringing it home, 'cause I'm a winner, baby. Fortune faded, worn out has been, in love with a dead sea. That's alright, sometimes you lose, that's just life. Dust off your knuckles, swallow your pride. It's alright, yeah. Bada boom, bada bing, boy. Down in the fog and down she goes. The shotgun shaker, Sean Paul playing on the radio. Yeah, I'm a winner, baby. Another fortune faded, hopeless has been, in love with a dead sea. That's alright, sometimes you lose, that's just life. Dust off your knuckles, swallow your pride. It's alright, yeah. That's alright, sometimes you lose, that's just life. Dust off your knuckles, swallow your pride. It's alright, that's alright, sometimes you lose, that's just life. Dust off your knuckles, swallow your pride. It's alright, yeah.
Next up on Freshly Squeezed, we're going hard with the band PHWOAR.
Hello.
I don't think I'm capable of saying the name PHWOAR without that kind of emphasis on it, which feels like I'm in some kind of Carry On Sid James movie. Do you do the same when you say the band name? Does it have to be PHWOAR?
Oh yeah, it has to be emphatic, doesn't it?
Yeah, without a little bit of gusto, I feel like it's you've done it a disservice.
Yeah.
So you absolutely nailed it there, Jim.
Good. Glad we got off to a good start. So I've got Jess and Paul from PHWOAR on Freshly Squeezed. New EP, Flowers Through the Concrete, is out now. That is a good title. Instant mental imagery. You must have been pretty pleased when you came up with the name for the EP.
You know what? I went back and forth on it for ages. But then I think that's just like a process that I have where I constantly question everything that I do.
I was more into it. Yeah, I pushed for it because it was a lyric from one of the songs, the title track of the EP.
Yeah.
Flowers Through the Concrete. And I just love the mental image that it conjures up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like really, really fitting and really positive. And that's what we're about.
That idea that it's still possible to be, to prioritize goodness and decency when the world seems to be trying to pave over all of that. And I think it's especially true at the moment.
It feels quite Editors-esque, I think. I don't know whether they've had any influence on you. It's that kind of like light and shade, doom pop kind of stuff.
Boom pop. We do look
Yeah.
at editors.
We know Russell, the bassist, and we're huge fans of everything that they do. So maybe it has kind of come through a little bit.
I like that.
One of the tunes off this EP, and it's the first one I heard, it's called Reckless, and it's kind of focused on the negatives of social media and the exposure to fake reality and all that kind of thing. And it's a topic that feels like it's become more and more prevalent in music recently, particularly from new bands coming through. I guess because it's become more and more prevalent in part of life as well. Are you sensing that from your generation, I guess, there's a bit of a pushback now against that kind of whole social media dominated life?
I'd love to think so.
You'd love to think so, but you don't see it happening. Is that basically what you're saying?
No, like I think we're kind of because the nature of it is there to grip you and hold you there and keep you just that infinite scroll. It's quite addictive, and so I think there's a real element there of how do you break that addiction when no one can really quite agree on what the nature of the addiction is. And also there's a confusion in there because there's goodness within the internet. I mean, we're chatting right now using the internet, but at the same time, like there's this really insidious dark side to it as well. I think there is some pushback, but I don't think there's any consensus on how to get away from that other than like breaking free from it and just going out and living a real experience outside in the world, you know?
I don't want to speak for everyone, but I definitely feel like the general point of view at the moment is that I'm on social media all the time, but I don't really enjoy it, but I can't stop. And I feel like that's maybe what Reckless is about really as well, like how that's just kind of breaking free from it, living in the real world, even though knowing that inevitably you'll get pulled back in again.
I guess it's one of those things where it's one of the things that distract us from life that live on our phones, and more things live on our phones, be it our wallets or our tickets, or from an artist point of view, you're now in a scenario where when you perform gigs, you have got people who will experience those gigs through the screen on their phone rather than through the eyes in their head. How does that affect you as performers when you see that? You look out into a crowd of people, and I guess at the kind of size gigs you're playing, it's maybe more obvious than at bigger gigs, but you're kind of seeing people and going, well, you're not fully engaging with this.
Yeah. You know, I know that some musicians are so anti-phones to the point that they actually like forbid that people take phones in there. And you do want people to be living it rather than recording it so they can rewatch it later, but not actually fully experiencing it. But at the same time, a part of me is glad that they're doing the social media side of the job for us. And then I don't have to.
One thing that you, when you're holding a phone up, you can't dance. So I think that's also quite sad that when people are filming it, great, they get to record it, they can watch it later. Whether they do or not, I'm not sure, but they can. They're not being present. They can hear the music, but they can't move to it in the same way because you have to hold the camera steady. You can't mosh pit while recording. Well, you can, but why not? Might not look so great.
Or you might lose your phone for sure, and you don't want to lose your phone in the middle of a mosh pit.
It's interesting you mentioned mosh pits, because I think one of the things I really love when I heard your music is just the energy that it has to it. It feels like it really fizzes, especially on tracks like Surge. Was that something that you wanted to capture and that you worked hard to capture when you recorded these tunes in the studio?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is one of the things that actually, like, I think when we'd done stuff in the past, it proved a little bit elusive. So we wanted to make something that was a little bit more intense, I guess, and like you say, fizzes.
We want people to get up and dance or mosh or move their bodies to Surge because it's a short song, but it's very intense.
Yeah.
It doesn't really kind of let up. It just kind of accelerates the more you listen to it. And that was...
The name suggested that you had to do that.
It was definitely...
They couldn't change it then.
But yeah, really intentional. In fact, we came into that one in particular, and I think we said to our producer, I was like, I want a dance beat. I want it to be disco. I want people to want to move to it. It needs to have energy. And we spent, not just in the recording studio, but when we were writing it, we spent so long trying to create energy. And we have so many kind of versions on the cutting room floor that didn't make it because it just didn't do what it needed to do.
Yeah, I think this is like, the version that we put out is like version 4.
Yeah.
Save it. 45 years' time, you can do a Manic Street Preachers S extended edition, celebratory EP with all the outtakes on it. Helena, Paul, lovely to speak to you. Thanks for coming on, or four as your otherwise, so I need to do it with the emphasis. Well, four as you're otherwise known. Lovely to speak to you. Really enjoying the EP. I've got the EP here, so it's up to you. What tune do you want me to play off it?
I think we're going to go for...
I think we're going to go for Surge.
finishing on a big one, the brand new tune from PHWOAR. From their new EP, that is Surge. If you want to hear more from them, or Oswald Slain, or Gondolas, or Frankie Dobson, then you can check out the links. They're all in the podcast description. Go and check out more of their music if you liked anything you heard on today's episode. Plus, check out the back episodes as well if you're in the mood to discover more brand new music. There's loads to go at, and there's loads coming as well. So make sure you have subscribed or following this podcast. You'll get the next episode as soon as it's ready, and the episode will be ready first thing Monday morning. If there's any bands you think I should be checking out on this pod, by the way, get into the comments so you can leave a review. Make sure it's a 5-star review. Leave a review, tell me about the bands that you're into at the moment. You can also leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify, or just slide into my DMs or message me on social media. Mr_Jimbob on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram as well. You can just search that. I can never remember what my handle is. But I will see you for the next episode. Back soon for another dose of new music with Freshly Squeezed. Cheers to your ears.
Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and hosted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McKinley. Theme music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.